And that Ziggs because they are not on blue side, not going to first pick it. They don't want to give it up to Shiphtur, and it's up to Coast to grab up the first pick.
Yeah, that's NidusHerMain, Ori the bans for Coast, Cassin and Ribbon Ziggs there coming out for the Walking Zed. And I said it in the end of that last game, I love Olaf for Nintendo. I'm so glad they first picked it here.
You know, you love it on Nintendo. I love it on Kez too, so that's actually going to hurt them because they don't have the Olaf coming here for TWZ this time. So it's a really good, you know, two wins there for Coast with grabbing that first pick. But meanwhile, Yuzuki had an amazing Shyvana. He was able to just constantly shove in ZionSpartan, you know, proxy farm, take away the jungle. It's exactly what I do with that champion. Yuzuki definitely well-versed in Shyvana play. I'm pretty sure they're going to give it to him.
Yeah, Sivir a good pick in there as well. So 2 great first picks coming up for the Walking Zed. They'll be very happy to take both of those. Quick picks here again for Coast. Thresh plus Ari already locked in.
Yeah, you're talking about that, you know, Sivir and Shyvana double lock-in. I love that combination because, like we say, you know, Shyvana does have some problems with crowd control, but again, when you have those beefy frontliners and you speed them up with Sivir, it solves all those problems for the team fight. And as Double F's kept saying, this patch is a bit more oriented towards team fights than split pushing. One of the little changes was that minions don't, you know, afford more experience the later the game goes, so split pushing doesn't get that one champion to skyrocket in levels like it used to do. And you know, Zion, when he did come in, he was still getting chunked down.
Yeah, the draft really slowing down here as well as we get deep into it. Next few picks for the Walking Zed really getting considered carefully, but they do decide on these two. We're going to have NydusHerMain back on the fiddle in support most likely, and Elise here probably for the jungle.
So fiddle support, they were happy with that one. He made a lot of very impactful plays. I'd be happy with that one as well. Easily going right back to that pick. He's going to be going up against Thresh this time. Coast have been going, again, staying with that pick over and over, Daydreamin as well. Both these supports, you have to say, they've been making plays on their respective champions.
They really have. WizFujiiN here going to get Jinx as well, the champion that brought him so much love in Game 1. And this last pick for me, Kobe, is really curious. Renekton into Shyvana is the last one.
All right, so Zion is going to go for a bit more early game-oriented power. He goes with the other brother this time around. I mean, I assume it's going to be Zion there. Haven't seen a jungle Renekton in a while.
You've seen it ever?
I have.
That's crazy.
But yeah, it's probably going to be Zion, and that is a champion that loves to bully early. So Zion can actually play you know, more true Zion League of Legends where he likes to go for 1v1s. He likes to go all in, and he likes to have those heads-up duels.
And when you were talking about Coast's team comps, Kobe, you wanted to see them go back to kind of their aggressive roots. They've gone here. They're really looking to be aggressive most of the time. Even Zion's champion this time around. If they ever push TWZ into the late game and it's kind of even, it's going to be trouble potentially with how tanky Shyvana is. And this last pick's getting real spicy. You're going to have to wait. Jace?
Not a lot of options left for Bischu because, like we said, you know, so many mid-focused bans in this matchup. Jace is an old-school mid-lane champion, though. Bischu put his time in on it a long time ago. So we'll have to see if he's a little bit rusty on that champion. But not only does it provide another speed boost for this very, very quick comp here from TWZ, but it also provides extra poke. There's a really good poke team here. Sivir's Boomerang Blade is great for under turrets, but they also have, you know, the Shock Blast and the Cocoons from Elise.
Yeah, and you mentioned Sivir, they can use the ult to disengage as well. There's lots of cute things that can happen here, but the last time we saw Bischu on a champion that we know he's not that comfortable on in Katarina, it just didn't look that good for the Walking Zed, and he's really one of the key players here for this team. So I worry a little, but again, options really restricted here by some clever drafting from Coast. So we'll see what happens, but no matter what it is, Kobe, our 5th and final game is coming up. Predictions based on just what we've seen here for the team comps, and I guess what we've seen in the series as well from these two teams.
I think there's going to be some early action coming from the Elise focused on that mid lane because, like you said, Bischu's a key playmaker, and if he's not that comfortable with Zed or with Jace,
he could have picked Zed. That would have been cute.
It would have been cute, but it probably wouldn't have been optimal. If he's not that comfortable with that Jace pick, then just a little visit from an Elise early on can completely change your mid lane and change the tide of the game.
Yeah, and you love talking about how Elise is so good at ganking mid, and she really is. Didn't see that a lot from, from Kez in the last game. Again, been a long day. From Kez in the last game. ganking that Ziggs, what they really would have loved to pressure, but if there's a lot of ganks coming for that Ari, it could be bad news. But we're going to get right into it here. The last game here of the day and of this series as well. It is Coast versus the Walking Zed. And this is for an LCS spot, Kobe. The start of one of these teams' professional careers and the reignition of one again. Here we go.
So, you know, it's not life and death here. If you don't get into the LCS this split, you do have the option of doing the Coke Challenger Series, which is going to be amazing this year. And then there's another split that you can requalify for.
That's true.
So everybody who does not qualify doesn't have to break up. You know, there are other places you can stick around and play League competitively.
But, I mean, at this point on this
everybody
stage,
wants
of course, everybody wants to go. So Coast are going to kick things off. Invade here coming through, but nice little ward there from the Walking Zed. I have to say, the Walking Zed's early warding against Coast has been absolutely spectacular. They've caught out so many invades, really just had Coast's number on what they want to be doing in the early levels.
And this is a rare sight, the early invade from Coast. You know, I talked about it before earlier in the day, how people have stopped doing a lot of the early invades because supports are so intent on starting out with either a gold generating item or a Doran's item. Both supports in this game have opted for the old strat of starting out with a ton of wards. So they're gaining that early vision for their teams. They've gone for those sort of old Season 3 early invades, and it looks like they've got some really nice vision on both reds for each team here, which is pretty much classic Season 3.
Yeah, and it's nice to see teams kind of changing it up. We've seen a lot of different things happen at level 1 between these two. Coast actually going to look for the same invade they found in the last game, which was spotted out by a ward, but they managed to get the blue last time. Maybe they'll get a little bit more out of this one with a potential kill coming out as well. And I said it already, Nintendude very comfy on this Olaf. We'll see what they can get done. They're going for it now.
All right, so another invade here for Nintendude. He loves coming to try and test out his smite skills going up against Kez here. The level 1 smites, by the way, extremely low nowadays with the extra change, so it makes it even harder.
Good hook on the Kez though, Death Sentence moving in. There's a bit of poke there, a little love tap there coming through, and they're really fighting for this blue arc Coast.
All right, so keep your eyes on that golem, because it's 390 for the smite at level 1.
That's really low.
And both of these teams are actually ignoring the minion waves that are just bashing themselves in that bottom lane. And if Nintendude actually loses this game of chicken and has to back off, it's going to hurt his jungle a lot, but it's going to help Wiz's lane a lot. So they're kind of trading a little bit of jungle presence for early bot lane win for Team Coast here.
And we saw a little bit of this in one of the earlier games as well. I believe on the other side, actually, working the other way. It's not a bad little bit of pressure, but it's a little awkward for Nintendude, as you mentioned. I mean, he's quite behind now to start off things here in the jungle. Kez already finished up their first buff. Nintendude probably going to go for this red, but it's a little rough.
I really want Kez to capitalize on this because they know that Nintendude is going to be super far behind. He's going to be on the red side. So if he even makes his way over to blue, then he'll be really low and he'll probably be smiteless. So if Elise can actually go over there and contest that, you can punish Nintendude for the choice that Coast made, because you need to make up for that early lead that they gave the Coast bottom lane.
A big amount of damage on the NydusHerMain, gets trampled up and ignited, almost killed, but manages to flash out of the way. But the little advantage that Wiz got there really helped in that exchange. So there's a lot of push and pull here.
It looks like they aren't going to make up for that early advantage bottom. Kez just went and did his own buffs. He's going to try and make Zion pay here for being aggressive on that Renekton.
Oh, Cocoon just missing. Nice juke from Zion. Gonna slice and that's on. Big damage actually coming through. Kez got to be so careful. Does not want to lose the double up to Zion. Going real deep. They wanted to get it. Forcing the flash out as well from Elise. That's a nice bit of pressure. Beautiful 1v2.
Zion will not pay the Elise tax today. Decides to run off 2 people by himself. Great initiative right there. And this is one of the reasons why Zion was considered, you know, one of the best players here on Coast, because he always used to play these early aggressive champions and always used to get these early leads, and he can handle himself even drawing jungle pressure. He bought time single-handedly there for Nintendude to catch back up.
Yeah, and that was nice. And Nintendude, not quite level 3, did hit it when he took out a couple of minions up the top with his undertow. But Zion, a very impressive, very calm demeanor there with that gank, happily being like, hey, double buffs, that looks tasty. And now undertow's going to move in here for Olaf. Looks like it. Yes, Bischu will get tagged, but Shiphtur does land the charm. Actually, maybe the follow-up. No, not quite. Just a bit of poke coming through.
Just lets him know that he can land the skill shots, and you will pay for it if you stand in one spot, Bischu.
We haven't quite seen Shiphtur really come out in any of the games, actually. I mean, the Ziggs game he had was just kind of very standard, just pushing, getting a lot of farm. Everyone else was winning, so he was like, yeah, I'm happy, I'm just farming up here. His plays look good. His LeBlanc looked quite good in the last game, but he's played Ahri twice now. This is his third time in this series. Shiphtur was really kind of almost hyped up as the player on this team, and I feel like it just hasn't had the impact that Bischu's had for his team.
Yeah, the past couple games he has had trouble. Usually Shiphtur, where he gets a lot of the power from and why he has all the hype is because when he starts roaming, he starts picking up kills in places you don't expect him to. And I think he'll have a much easier time roaming this game against the Jace than he did in the last, at least of course the last game because it was Ziggs, but even any of the other games as well.
And especially with Olaf here, as well, for Nintendude, he can just cover the lanes like he loves to do here, and that gives Shiphtur so much room. So I like what's happening here. That was one of the biggest reasons, actually, that I wanted to see Nintendude back on Olaf.
Another thing is that when Shiphtur goes to roam, you know, if he goes bottom, he's going to have even more mobility than an Ahri usually does because Daydreamin can lantern him in, and there's absolutely no way you can get away from a lantern in Ahri that will have 3 spirit rushes ready to go if you extend too far in that bottom lane.
And Shiphtur, look, he's starting the roam already, looking at top maybe for a dive, but Elise is around the side. Is Shiphtur going to go in there onto Yakuzi? That could be bad news. There it goes for the first blood, and Shiphtur, beautiful play.
All right, so he didn't roam bottom, but he went top, where Zion is just dominating his lane. So really, Shiphtur had the pick right there. He could go either lane because both of the lanes are winning. Chooses to go top. They're able to grab the kill, and there was no answer here from Kez because he was a little bit too slow there.
I had a quick glance at my minimap while that was happening. Sure enough, Olaf was in the mid there hanging out, taxing the lane, and that's exactly what Coast have become known for. I mean, Shiphtur, I said it just before, he needed to get it going. That was exactly the start he wants.
This is the same gank that happened last time!
It is NydusHerMain in trouble, no flash anymore either, and there's the Trompers, but they don't need it. Nydus going to go down for another kill, and WizFujiiN off to a great start as well.
I'm having deja vu here. The lantern in from that side river bush, bringing Nintendude over for a successful gank on Nydus.
And this is aggressive from Coast. They're trying to take Dragon at 7.5 minutes here. Should be able to do it by the looks of things. Again, Kobe isn't worth as much gold now early on, because based on average level, but they are going to be able to get it. That will give them control, and as you've said all series, you get Dragon control, you keep on top of that, you can keep getting ahead and keep staying ahead of your opponents.
We have been saying that a lot, haven't we?
We're good reason.
We're excited about the new patch, Pastry.
The patch is great. It's a whole lot
and it's
of fun.
working. See, you've learned too.
Thank you, Kobe. Kobe's just such a good teacher, guys. Hope you guys are learning as well. Massive series already, but Coast, this is exactly the sort of start they had towards game 1. This is their comfort zone for sure.
Right, they're definitely accustomed to this type of start. A successful Shiphtur roam, then not only did Nintendude get to soak up that lane farm, but he also got the kill and Dragon down bottom. So this is pretty much the best that it could start out for Coast so far. They're getting the kills and the objectives.
And I love the comfort in the champions that Coast have decided to pick here as well. ZionSpartan on that Renekton, WizFujiiN back on Jinx. Daydreamin has been playing Thresh all day and playing it well, and Nintendude on the Olaf. And Shiphtur, you know, Ahri is one of his many champions, but clearly seems comfortable on these sort of assassin-y, roamy sort of champions. He's got a very fast lane to see Ladra. There is no messing around today.
Yeah, you get first blood from mid lane, and you want to put it all into power there, it looks like. No boots, he's going to skip out on that, so it's going to make Bischu that much more cautious in his lane. And it'll probably just be Jace trying to farm up while his tier stacks. He's not got a lot of combat stats here since he has opted for the early tier. And an all-in from Ahri would be extremely dangerous.
I like that red side or white farming we saw there as well from the bottom lane of the Walking Zed. Just the little things here to try and make this lane any better, because WizFujiiN is massively ahead on CS. Nydus getting grabbed in there as well. Great double play back in there as the Super Mega Death Rocket also comes in. WizFujiiN needs one more, but he finds it now. Bobbyhankhill could be in trouble. The box down in there as well. The barrier popped and landed on top of him, and a double kill for Jinx. This is horrible deja vu for the Walking Zed from game 1.
All right, so it started off bad for that bottom lane for the Walking Zed because of all the jungle semantics that went down at blue. WizFujiiN decided to go to lane, got a huge lead. All right, let's just recap this fight though. That was Daydreamin. Beautiful death sentence into the play on 2, and Wiz is able to flash and catch up. Now, he knew that he could get away after this because he'll get excited, but he doesn't have to because Daydreamin pops level 6, down goes the box, and he's got plenty of shields left for Wiz.
Yeah, had him covered there. Wiz really trusting his supporters. Nintendude going to give Bischu a love tap on this Jace. Farming well, and Bischu almost always does so. He's got great mechanics, and he's always plays safe, known as a kind of a defensive mid lane player. But Shiphtur just has free roam at this point. No boots, roaming about, as Spartan up the top. Now onto Yakuzi, but a nice ultimate out.
Yeah, so Zion definitely making use of the Renekton pick. Because it has the early bullying potential, he doesn't want to let that Shyvana into the lane, and especially since they already spent the time and resources to have that early roam from Shiphtur. He's going to try and make as much out of this as possible.
And I have to ask you, Kobe, you know, as a jungler, where's Kez in all this? He's the aggressive ganking jungler in this game.
Right now he's trying to chase an Olaf out of his own jungle. He lands the cocoon and does get the ghost.
And NintendudeX just going to pop his ghost away. Doesn't use his ultimate, doesn't think he needs it right now. Cute little repel out there, but WizFujiiN and Daydreamin continuing to bully down the bottom as well.
Okay, but back to your point, Kez, you know, when your lanes are all losing like that, it is fairly difficult. His first gank was unsuccessful on Zion. He had to burn his flash to run away from that gank. So he got set behind pretty early there.
Oh, Nintendo going to come in. The ZionSpartan almost doesn't need the help, but Nintendude's like, yeah, man, I'll secure it. I got you, don't worry. Going to look to pressure this turret up as well. Can't quite get it. And Kez here just, I mean, as you said, it feels probably pretty helpless. Oh, look who's back.
All right, so Shiphtur decides to roam as well. It's going to be another range champion here, so they can deal extra damage to the turret. Bischu decides to match the roam, but it's very dangerous. Even with these two, I don't think they can grab a kill.
Oh, and that was a very close charm coming through as well. It's actually 2v2 there, so Coast wisely back off despite the roam from Shiphtur, but I like the aggression there. They're clearly trying to keep this lead going here, and they've got a pretty big one in terms of lead at this point, quite early on in this game.
And I like that neither team hesitating to rotate here. Immediately, you know, both mid laners making their way up top. Pretty much it's just been the bottom lane that had been left by themselves, and that is just going to continue to snowball in Coast's favor because, like we talked about, you know, the early start that they had, that was great, but they also got that gank from Nintendude because of the pink ward start there that Daydreamin invested in.
Now Nintendude back to his true home, the mid lane. Going to be farming as much as he can here. And really, look, the CS pretty even with Elise actually. Has been pretty heavily farming. Kez kind of resigned to doing that. As you said, it's kind of hard to catch up every lane if they're all losing. So realizing he should just farm up and see what he can do when some skirmishes break out. I mean, Shiphtur's just going to be going everywhere he wants at this point. And look how aggressive Coast are being through the enemy jungle now.
Because their bottom lane is winning so hard. Oh, what a hook!
Beautiful Latin right in as well. Bobbyhankhill forced to pop the open the box. On top in there as well with the flash, but Kez actually locked up Nintendo. Daydreamin low WizFujiiN though, able to pick up yet another kill.
Because their bottom lane is winning so hard, it's very easy to extend that zone of control into the jungle, and they buy 2 pink wards and spend them so that they have full vision control, enabling that hook and the invades from Nintendude.
Hanging onto the blue area as well. The blue actually does respawn, so good timing there for Coast knowing what's happening there. And Coast would be pretty happy to have this fight. The blue getting low, Smite comes out. I don't quite know who picked it up. Looks like someone from Coast. It was Nintendude. Even though he
didn't smite it though.
I know he didn't.
Kez got the smite, but Nintendude.
They've had a lot of smite wars these two
That's
junglers,
correct.
interestingly enough. Now mid turret could be in trouble. Zion actually tanking the turret aggro here. He should be okay for now. Everyone else going to rotate through. Oh, Kez caught out now as well. That's bad news to Shiphtur. Almost going to be able to get him. Kills him with Ignite while he's in the air.
Just such a ridiculously fast start from Coast has kind of gotten out of control at this point. They took the lead, and they extended that lead all the way into TWZ territory. Now, they're just dying inside their own jungle. They're having to watch out from death sentences coming from behind their own walls. There really is no safe place here for TWZ.
Dragon going to come in here again. Yakuzi does manage to get the tower up here towards the top, but Zion's like, hey buddy, how you doing? Tiamat pop, and Dragon is going to go over to Coast there as WizFujiiN picks it up again, and this gold lead is getting out of hand.
It's getting out of hand, and it really shows that Coast are the more experienced team here. When it really comes down to it, Game 5, the pressure is on. They play better than ever. They return to their old comfort champions here so that they can rely on their instincts, and they do not hesitate They're making the first moves, and TWZ is having a really tough time trying to catch up.
And we've talked about Shiphtur in this series. He's gotten DFG a lot. In fact, I think almost every game but the Ziggs game, he's gotten a DFG first on either Ari or LeBlanc, which he played in the last game. I kind of criticized the impact it had. I don't think that's going to be a problem this time.
It's kind of essential for his playstyle. You know, you love the roaming and you love picking people off, then you want that item because it's tailored for killing a single target. It's exactly what Shiphtur needs. You know, even though his CS really suffers from that playstyle this game, he's doing just fine as far as gold is concerned because he has been successful with the roams. And it's not like his team has lost that money. Like you always are fond of pointing out, Nintendude loves going to eat that stuff up.
He's collecting it, man. He's like, it's okay. You don't want it? I'll take it from you. Happily have your farm here. As Coast aggressively trying to push through the center of the map now is now WizFujiiN all alone at 4-0-0. Bloodthirster plus the Zeal already done. I mean, Bloodthirst is here for Bobbyhankhill, but look at the CS difference between the ADs.
Yeah, the CS difference is ginormous. We've gone over all the steps that led to this point. It was just definitely all downhill pretty much from the level 1 there for that combo of Bobby and Nydus, and not a lot that they could do to get it back in their favor by themselves. They really needed help from somewhere else. But everyone else had their hands full as well.
I love Daydreamin here up to the side as all he does go for the hook. Kez there. Oh, nice repel out from the zap, and Bobbyhankhill pops the ult in there as well, maybe looking to counter-initiate, but doesn't quite go in. Yazuki up towards the top, just trying to push in. He's trying, Kirby, but it's a long push for that tier 2 turret. Oh, Bischu. Shiphtur now going to go in again. Does get DFG. Spirit Rush in there again, and that's easy cleaning for Ari.
That's why, you know, he gets that DFG. Loves the duels and finally finds Bischu. Bischu's been struggling. He's been doing his best to stay up there in CS and control his mid lane, but now Coast are bringing 5 men right down the center.
Yeah, and it's 4 towers to 1 right now for Coast. Well, Yazuki...
So what you could do if you can't fight Team Coast 5-on-5 or 4-on-5 at your turret is go all the way back and sabotage their minion line. So if the minions don't get to that turret, the turret's going to have more armor. All that Coast have to do, though, rotate to a different lane.
And they do just that here. 5 turrets and counting now for Team Coast as the Walking Zed are really up against it here in this one. 8,000 gold and counting in the hole for them here. Shiphtur even going to take away the white here. Collect himself a bit of extra gold. DFG done. I mean, there's probably going to be quite a few items picked up here. Wards are plenty for all after he picks up an Aegis as well, I believe. I mean, not massive purchases coming out, but it's still so early in the game that those items aren't quite coming yet.
Yeah, Nintendo definitely going with that team play defensive item there. It's not even that they have a whole bunch of magic, you know, to worry about. There's no fed magic damage dealer on TWZ. They just have, you know, a lot of it, a lot of, you know, random sources that are going to be coming around. So, you know, a nice little team focus buy right there. Not really too telling.
And I like what Nintendo did with his pink ward that he bought. Just plonks it straight into the Baron pit, being like, you know what, we could maybe do this now. Feeling pretty confident, feeling his team ahead enough that he could get that done.
Well, exactly what you want to do in competitive league after you get the early edge is, of course, extend your vision control. So they're trying to do just that. A little bit tougher here in this season because of the limited pink wards and sweepers.
And I love that Coast are almost taking Double Lift's advice. They're grouping more now as a team, just pushing down objectives together. Yeah, Shiphtur's off to a side lane, maybe pushing some off, making some pressure, but someone can be there quickly and they're sticking together. There's no more super split pushing happening.
Yeah, Shiphtur, he's looking for the repeat kills on Bischu because he knows he burned the summoners in the last engage. So now, if he does catch Jace in a charm, then it'll be a sit and duck.
The other nice thing as well is that Coast are so far ahead early on in this game that it doesn't actually matter too much if they actually would start a 4v5, because they can probably buy enough time for one of them to roam back over to the other lane and still clean up after. I mean, Shiphtur would janitor it very hard if a team fight started right now.
Yeah, I mean, they do have a lot of peel with the box with Thresh, but you always have to respect the on the hunt from Sivir. Actually coming out pretty early here.
Yeah, Bobbyhankhill popped it already.
Never mind then. I mean, that won't be up for long.
It's unfortunately, it almost has to be used just to rotate between the sections of the lanes now. I mean, Coast are doing a beautiful job rotating back and forth. There's one thing, Kobe, I think you can learn by looking at this series. Both teams at different points in this series rotated beautifully. There's so much going on.
There's only a few more seconds here. It looks like Shiphtur is going to be left alone with this turret in mid lane. And instead of trying to force that 5-on-4 up top, they decide to again make the rotation, lose a little bit more damage on the turret. If they just keep repeating this process, Coast will slowly be rewarded with a turret destruction.
And just so much early game pressure here from Coast. Really came out of the gates blazing here in this one. Exactly what you wanted to see them do, Kobe.
Fiddle pretty far out there.
He's low, the blocker does come in, not quite dead yet, but they really want the kill. And WizFujiiN's going to pick it up. Now Daydreamin gets the hook, kind of baiting the rest of the Walking Zed, and now Zion on top of it as well. There's the kill from Nintendude as he axes Civet right in the back. And Shiphtur, he's chilling, hanging in the mid.
You're just complimenting them on their rotations. That was some pretty poor positioning there. Fiddle is an extremely squishy champion. Support Fiddle does not want to be on the front lines. Wiz does get cocooned right there, though.
Coast coming in, going to do a good chunk of damage to that inhibitor turret hanging out in the mid. I mean, this game is almost a shutout here for Coast, though. It's 10-0 in kills, 1 turret for the Walking Zed to try and keep them in, but they've got nothing else. They've barely got their own buffs, let alone the dragon.
Yeah, like I said, it was just such a fast start from Coast, and they never let up. That there's really been every member of TWZ asking for help, but they only have 5 members on their team, and they really needed like a 6th man in this game.
I mean, unfortunately, minions are doing all they can, Kobe, but they can't quite push this far. I mean, the Walking Zed, they're going to turtle as much as they can. Absolutely no way they'll give up here in this spot, and credit to them for that. But it looks dire for them at this point. 10,000 golds and a little bit more on top of that here for Coast. Already 21.5 minutes into this game. Coast have really got to be feeling this one.
If Coast do not win this one and don't get back into the LCS, then they will probably never hear the end of it, because a lot of the other teams will be very, very surprised, as you should be. It's pretty much they just have to go siege up now. They don't have the best sieging team, though. So it's at this point that TWZ are still holding on to threads of hope, and they just have to siege up inside their inhibitor turret line and wait for, maybe another 15 minutes at least, trying to farm up and concede pretty much the rest of the map.
Shouldn't be doing this, though. They're really kind of moving a little too far forward, rotating awkwardly between their own lanes. Thankfully, Bischu able to get away. Fiddle again off to the side. Level 7. ZionSpartan's going to find somebody. He gets Yakuzi there, and Shyvana who's going to get away. The hook missing, though, but there's the flash stun. He wants the kill, forcing Nydus to flash out of the way, but Fiddle's got a long way to run, gets himself zapped up, and that's going to be just another kill.
So that's the problem. If you don't turtle up inside your inhibitor turret line, then it's going to make things pretty much impossible for your team to come back here, because now not only are they down so much gold, but also down their main source of crowd control, and this opens it up for a Coast dive under turret.
I mean, the saving grace here is that Fiddle's back pretty quickly here with the death numbers being low, but Coast is going to get some damage here onto the turret. Box that popped actually, maybe going after Yakuzi. There's WizFujiiN's going to pick up the turret. That's all they want. They can disengage now. Bobbyhankhill's popping the ultimate, but they got a long way to run to catch Coast.
Yeah, now that door is wide open into the TWZ base, and Coast just have to heal up before picking their next fight. They've already got vision control on Baron, and they've already got that inhibitor turret down. So they've got the options open for them. Their end game plan just got real easy here. All they have to do is survive this last little onslaught. If they can get back to base for that one heal, then they should be able to make the final push.
Yeah, I mean, they can give up this turret if they really want, but they're happy just to kind of stand here and take it. They've got so much gold ahead of the Walking Zed at this point that they're pretty comfortable.
Oh, they just go in.
Fight. They're trying to get Shyvana. The Chompers down as well. Damage coming through, and Shyvana will get picked up as WizFujiiN hits off in the Super Mega Death Rocket. Now Nydus, level 7 Fiddle, looks very fragile on the Coast, and they're going to storm down the middle.
All right, now it's definitely pretty much a clear path here for Coast. Run right down the mid through the inhibitor and probably just finish the game. It's so early, though, that actually death timer's not that long. So Shyvana and Fiddles will be back up. Maybe we're going to have to see another inhibitor go down first.
I mean, Kobe, you were talking about Coast needing to go back and heal. Walking Zed clearly chasing a couple of exit kills in there. They just turned around and fought them. We're like, go.
It was a beautiful catch right there. And being able to chunk down that tank from TWZ so early means that they have the confidence to engage. I mean, Zion goes in, he gets up the stun to set up the flame choppers, and then Shiphtur goes in to capitalize. They don't extend too far chasing this. They just take the easy kill onto the support. And then, the inhibitor objective finally making that recall available to them and returning to base.
And how different does ZionSpartan look on a more aggressive champion like Renekton? He's really just able to make plays like that, like we just saw under that turret. And I mean, Coast, I said it at the start of this game and in their picks, this is just comfort champions are plenty for this team, and it shows. They're really just like, you know what? It's our last game here. We need to win to get back into the LCS, and they're playing like they want to win.
It really does help with the nerves in the high-pressure games like this. Everyone keeps talking about how important it is to have these experience on LAN and experience on high-pressure championship games. This is pretty much a championship game. Getting into the LCS is worth a lot. So going back to your comfort champions only helps with that, and it really shows here. Coast have not been hesitating, and they've really been just playing pretty much from instinct.
Yeah, I mean, it almost felt like it took a couple games for Coast to really warm up again, but they've really brought it here when it counts here in this last game. And the Walking Zed are going to try and defend as best they can. I like the decision to just not take Baron, by the way, just to stay safe.
I wasn't even going to mention it. That's why after they got the first inhibitor, I was like, okay, it'll probably take another inhibitor, not a Baron fight, because those are very treacherous. And if there's something that will get TWZ back in the game, it's a Baron steal. Hook onto Bischu.
Yeah, Bischu getting grabbed up, forced to flash there. Bobbyhankhill popping his ult there as well on Sivir. The Flame Combo is going to cover the retreat, and Coast are happy to get a couple of cooldowns there.
Yeah, I mean, they get out again. The on the hunt, Sivir already popped that. That's huge for Coast. Zion, a beast over on the mid lane here, is drawing a lot of attention, allowing those few stray hits here for the bottom lane push.
I mean, ZionSpartan does love to split push. He's kind of been leashed a little by his team. He's like, dude, play Renekton, just play aggressive, be yourself. But he can't help himself in this situation. He's like, I can kind of split push and draw them away, and Coast are going to come and do as much damage as they can to this turret. Nice spell shield, though, from Bobbyhankhill.
All right, so he's going to block the Orb of Deception. It wasn't like a charm that was going to mean his full death, but a nice chunk of damage there does get blocked. They're making very slow work of this turret because they don't want to overextend. There still is the possibility of a Cocoon under turret or a Fear under turret. And Coast, while they have a commanding lead, this game is for all the marbles.
Yeah, and they go in here again. Daydreamin finds Kez there, bumps the box up as well. They get the inhibitor tower, that's kind of all they want. And they'll be okay. Nintendude got to be careful, but everyone from Coast once again backs away. Sivir ult, not up yet. Bobbyhankhill already used it, and that's another easy getaway for Team Coast.
Again, not wanting to risk it, so they're not going to overstay their welcome. Take the blue that's already pink warded, so they have the confidence that they're not going to be snuck up upon by Kez, and they're easily going to take this dragon as well.
Another open inhib, another dragon there. That's 4 for 4 on dragons there for Coast. Bobbyhankhill, a little bit of retribution, gets his red. For maybe the first time in this one.
Consolation prize, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you'll take whatever you can get at this point if you're a TWZ. But Coast probably looking very happily, very hungrily at that bottom inhibitor that's now open. Nydus here, going to check Baron. Responsibly will try and ward the area just so they know in case it's being done, but I don't think Coast are particularly interested right now.
I mean, that's worth shouting out right there, because that was a dangerous mission he just went on. Blindly going over there to try and ward the Baron area. He does get the wards down, and they have vision, but Coast, again, they don't want to go for that because the open objective of the inhibitor does not bite back, whereas Baron definitely has the potential to turn it around.
And I love that ZionSpartan just can't help himself now. He started to split push once again. I mean, it's actually a pretty good spot to pressure in this situation because the rest of Coast are going to be down the bottom pushing there. He's pretty safe to just hang out in the top lane and push this out, but I think Coast wouldn't do this unless they were this far ahead.
They're actually, doing the tri-lane push here, the 1-2-2 push. That's basically only you can do that if you win all of your lanes, push all 3 at the same time, and they've decided actually to collapse here. Now they've got 2 inhibitors that they have to make work of before they really go all in.
And this is just a horrible choice for the Walking Zed to have to make. They're either going to have to lose him in Hibs or really take a fight here. Bischu back in base, so if Coast want to rush in now, they can.
So if you're TWZ, you have to make a decision right now before you already lose the inhibitors. Are you going to fight without a turret, or are you going to give up both inhibitors and then just try and wait it out even longer?
Bischu going to get hooked there. That's a beautiful move from Daydreamin. WizFujiiN going to pick up that kill, and that's 1 inhibitor down. The rest of the base probably going to be put in ruins here as well. That's at least 2 inhibs.
So that's what you can't do. Hesitate in no man's land and get hooked!
Daydreamin so good with Thresh there, just landing death sentence after death sentence. and Coast are going to move in from maybe at least a Nexus turret here.
That's why you got to make up your mind early about this and follow through with the decision, because that's the game here. Coast are running on Nexus turrets.
Coast really feeling themselves. Now NydusHerMain going to try and make it with the Crowstorm. He takes so much damage from Nintendu, but Bobbyhankhill will get the kill there, and that's a nice little present for Sivir. But Coast still moving in.
Unanswered kill right there, but the Nexus turret is no more.
NydusHerMain very low, blown up by Shiphtur. And there's Lantern throwing out. WizFujiiN going to ride it out one more time. They're not dead yet, but the Walking Zed bleeding all over their base right now.
They're still limping around, that's for sure. They got home guards, which will help a little bit with that base defense. And it's probably just the home guards, really, that's scaring off Coast here. Everybody's a little bit low, and they don't want to chance it. They got almost everything they wanted there. Double inhibs and double Nexus turrets. At this point, it finally does become a little bit safe to go over there and do a slow Baron, because there's so much pressure on the TWZ base. Once those minion waves from the mid and bottom lane get inside the base and you have vision, you know that TWZ are going to have to defend it because their Nexus is exposed right now.
WizFujiiN going to pick up his red buff now. And I mean, they're probably going to wander over to Baron, as you mentioned, Kobe. Just want to highlight yet again, just Coast have so many things on this map. 10-1 in turrets, 16-1 in kills. I did just realize the Walking Zed finally got a kill there with Bobbyhankhill picking up the first one.
Now, the only thing about rushing down for the Nexus is that you do have to worry about home guards. That's pretty much it, because you know the turrets are all down. All you have to worry about is getting really close to that fountain, because when you have that home guards, if you can get out of combat, you know, regen up real quick and come out very speedy.
Have to commend the players, looking pretty calm as I glance down there. I mean, given how far behind the Walking Zed are, I would expect to see a little bit more dejection on their faces, but everyone's pretty serious here. Just really wants to play this game out. I mean, the Walking Zed, they'll keep playing here, but it is very tricky to win from this spot. Not impossible, Kobe, but very, very hard. And the Coast, they're going to move in now, try and clean this one out, and reclaim their LCS spot here in Spring.
All right, in come the first wave of super minions. And Coast aren't pushing it too hard. It's allowing TWZ to slowly clear out these waves, and they're not making much headway.
No, and Coast, I think maybe want to think a little bit more about the Baron. A little eager, perhaps, to try and push in aggressively and win. Baron would kind of ensure that the next team fight they started would probably be very much in their favor.
What I would have liked for them is a couple more wards dropped along the path. It looks, okay, they've got a pretty good path of wards set up here. So when TWZ come, if they decide to actually extend out of the base, Coast would have full vision. And because there's two inhibitors down, like we said, you're not going to try it, and Coast are able to get that Baron for free.
Nice decision there from Coast. Kind of realizing that, you know what, probably want to take this Baron here. So they pick up their first Baron of the game now, and it's probably going to be the last one here in this one, Kobe. Again, not over yet, but Coast poised to take a fifth and final game here.
Because the inhibitors have been reduced to the 4-minute spawn time, though, that means they might have to, they're probably going to have to kill another round of inhibitors here.
Probably, I mean, they'll definitely have to win a fight against the Walking Zed to take it here. There's no sort of rushing, just kind of cheese your base and go from there. They're going to have to win a legitimate team fight here. The only problem is it's very unfair right now, given how big the lead for Coast is. I mean, we're almost up to 20,000 gold ahead, Kobe, and Baron buff here.
Not exactly a fair fight.
No, not at all.
But TWZ did score 1 kill. They're on the scoreboard here. Yazuki needs to recall very quickly here because they see him in the bottom lane, and they are killing the second round of inhibitors.
I mean, this inhib's going to go. The second one should go here as well. Yazuki going back now on Shyvana, but Coast are going to be able to clean this up pretty quickly here. And the Walking Zed, they don't have many options left. I don't think any of them are good either. That's a lot of damage onto Elise as well. Coast going to move in, looks for the final time here. Yazuki dumping onto WizFujiiN, but it's nowhere near enough, as that's an easy kill for ZionSpartan. And they kind of only need the one. They're going to dive through Coast. Looks like they're going to be able to make it here. Bischu gets absolutely cleaned out as Thresh gets that last kill. Kez going to go down here as well. Legendary for WizFujiiN to close it out. And Team Coast, congratulations, back into the LCS.
What a way for Coast to finish this series off. A convincing fashion right there. They took it all the way to 5 games and turned up the pressure right there. Everybody was on the edge of their seats, but man, did they finish that one out in dominating fashion.
And I like that they really finished how they started. Looking aggressive, wanting to move forward, and just playing to their strengths. And they look, when they're ahead, Kobe, they look so good. Coast really a team that play with a lot of pace, with a lot of flair.
And those guys right there, TWZ, have to be proud of themselves.
Absolutely.
I mean, Coast were looking so good. They just dominated the Challenger Series. And TWZ came in here, took it all the way to the end game. Very, very well played from them.
I mean, I couldn't agree more here, Kobe. The Walking Zed were kind of the quiet team that snuck in that, you know, a lot of people thought maybe we're going to be good. Bischu said, no, actually really good. I'm surprised they picked us. And I think Coast, if they can do it again, looking back on this weekend maybe, they may actually pick a different team here. That was a long-fought best-of-5 series here, but at the end of the day, we can only have one come through here, and that's going to be yet another team joining the LCS. We've got one left to decide, Kobe. That is tomorrow, though, but let's break down an epic 5-game series. We actually had to sub you in for Jet, because that's how long it was going.
Even the casters could not last through that epic series. But yes, hopefully Jet will be back tomorrow and we can continue on with our final matchup. So the promotion game tomorrow is going to be Coast. Or not Coast, that was today. It's Curse.
It is
It's going to be Curse, who chose Cog. And that we'll get to see, you know, the, who's their new top laner? Wow, it doesn't even work anymore. Quas. Curse with Quas in action. That's definitely going to be exciting. But, man, today it was definitely action-packed.
It was.
A couple of sets of casters running through here, and Coast ended out in an epic fashion.
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of hear the audience has thinned out a little here in the studio. Had a couple of delays to kick things off, unfortunately, but it's been a fantastic day of League of Legends. Kind of fitting, I guess, that the series that started with a bunch of technical difficulties had to go to full 5 games. They were action-packed games. And again, congratulations to Coast, but really well played to the Walking Zed. They looked so good there. Hopefully we'll see them again coming up in the Coke Challenger League because they look like a strong challenger team.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the North American teams who've been watching these series have learned a lot about this patch and how you want to play it because, you know, we saw a couple of different strategies being played out and the split pushing not quite as effective as it used to be. We saw all of the changes for this patch in effect in this match. Eventually, they returned to what worked for them in the beginning, the strong lane phase and the snowballing into those strong team fights. Pretty much they ended the game, you know, controlling all lanes and with the tri-push.
Yeah, I mean, again, good to see Nintendude back on Olaf. Good to see Shiphtur really playing to his form that we kind of expect him to play here. But I mean, both teams played absolutely spectacularly. And Kobe, my question for tomorrow is, how many Ziggs bans are we going to see?
All right,
this guy slowly crept up through this weekend.
Ziggs definitely either going to be first picked or banned away probably for the remainder of the tournament. It's definitely had a high impact, no matter whose hands he's been thrown into.
All right, so we're going to send it down to the stage where Shox is standing by with